But there are also occasions when the Freemason must travel west. I draw your attention to the opening of the lodge in the 3rd degree in emulation. Worshipful Master: Brother Junior Warden, whence come you? Junior Warden: the east. Brother Senior Warden: whither directing your course? The west. What inducement have you to leave the east and go to the west? To seek for that which was lost, which, by your instruction and our own industry, we hope to find. And as we know, this journey is a journey towards death. The death of Hiram Abiff, a journey in search of lost truth, of lost spirit, and of faltering hope. And at least one version of the legend tells us that the body of Hiram Abiff was buried to the west of the temple. Now, whereas throughout history we have travelled east in search of knowledge, we have seldom travelled west. And in Western Christian mythology at the time of Columbus, a journey westwards, particularly a journey over water, was an image of death. How much more courageous, therefore, does Christopher Columbus' journey look to us now, westwards across the Atlantic, into the setting sun, the darkness of the unknown? How much more courageous must be our own personal journeying westwards, even if not towards death, than at least journeying towards the middle chamber to discover unpalatable things about ourselves, our own failings and blemishes, which we need to repair before making a claim for our wages. But this pilgrimage is essential if we are to make moral progress. Aside from journeyings east and west, we can regard this in another dimension. When the aspirant first puts on the blindfold outside the door of the temple, the effect should be to direct his attention away from outside distractions into his inner self. He leaves the circumference of the circle, bounded by 2 grand parallel lines, and sets out on his journey to the centre, that point from which, once he has reached it, he cannot err. The centre, as we know, is a place where he must go in order to be with himself and to know himself and to own himself. This journey towards self-knowledge is the most important in all Freemasonry, perhaps the most important in life itself. For without it, the next journey is impossible. And what is that next journey? The next journey is the return journey from the centre of the aspirant who has begun to know himself and is ready now to journey outwards to his fellow humans, to be in harmony with them at the circumference. We need this for the moral progress we aspire to in Freemasonry, for an understanding of the universe we inhabit, and ultimately to approach the throne of God. Although we have mentioned death, we have not yet addressed the third journey, the last and greatest trial of all. I am assured that the following passage from the 3rd degree emulation ritual will be recognizable to you, despite the differences between our 2 allegorical systems. In the passage, after the Master has reminded the candidate of the import of the 1st degree, he reminds him of his progress through the 2nd degree with these words, I quote, "Proceeding onwards, still guiding your progress by the principles of moral truth, you are led in the 2nd degree to contemplate the intellectual faculty and to trace it from its development through the paths of heavenly science, even to the throne of God himself. The secrets of nature and the principles of intellectual truth were then unveiled to your view. To your mind, thus modelled by virtue and science, nature, however, presents one great and useful lesson more. She prepares you by contemplation for the closing hour of existence, and when, by means of that contemplation, she has conducted you through the intricate windings of this mortal life, she finally instructs you how to die." Now, we may find these words, one of the most beautiful passages in the English ritual, mightily inspiring in themselves, but they incidentally contain passages which are pointers to our profession, proceeding onwards, guiding your progress, the paths of heavenly science, the intricate windings of this mortal life. It's all about the journey. And the 3rd degree is not, in fact, so much about death. This is a bit indistinct, but I'll have to interpret it for you. It is about the journey back from the grave. Just as Orpheus returned from the underworld, it is about man's triumph over death, the fact that we can be regenerated, that we can put off our old, fallible, incomplete self to be reborn to a higher state of consciousness and perfection. And it is true, as Kirk McNulty puts it, that a genuine Master Mason can be recognized for what he is, someone who has travelled the journey, not in miles or kilometres, but a journey in experience, in trials and tribulations, in order to gain some stability, some harmony in his life. This Master Mason does indeed come back from the grave, just as he came back earlier from the centre after discovering himself and his own nature. But, unlike Orpheus, who, on returning, committed a fateful error and looked back, lost his beloved Eurydice, our Master Mason returns from the grave a new man, victorious, in possession of full knowledge of himself and of his qualities. Brethren, I have really, honestly, no wish to intrude on the affairs of other Grand Lodges, but I have to say that these ideas I've been talking about sit very uneasily with the practice in some jurisdictions of initiating many men at one time in one place. I suggest that we cannot become initiates on the Masonic path by some vicarious process involving a sample initiation being conducted in front of us, in some way conducted on behalf of a group. Such a procedure may make members. I doubt that it makes Masons. We may wonder what is the sought-after destination of such a short journey. But as far as our Masonic journeying is concerned, I submit that there is no destination to be sought after. We are concerned only with the journey. Unless we believe ourselves to have attained the same level as Lord Krishna or the Buddha or Jesus or the Prophet Muhammad, we will probably not attain spiritual perfection in this life. But we can attain fulfillment by experiencing the joy of travelling the path, by constantly seeking more knowledge and more wisdom, by continuing to ask questions of ourselves and questions of others, by refusing to be hidebound by religious dogma or ideological precepts, by daring to know, daring to think for ourselves, and daring to work out our own salvation. Then, brethren, the journey and the destination are the same thing. The poet and playwright Bertolt Brecht, himself an atheist, was asked one day by his friends what he wanted written on his gravestone when he died. They were all in a bit of a jocular mood. I think they had a few pints of beer. But Brecht was quite serious. He didn't joke about it. "I want you to write," he said, "that in my life I was uncomfortable, and that I intend to remain so even after my death." He did not intend to stop asking questions, to stop seeking the truth. And I submit, brethren, that neither should we. Don't stand still. Keep journeying. It's what the Spirit is for. Thank you, Worship Master.